I'm trying to announce that we're going to start to go live on a regular basis because there's just so much content about futsal and specifically youth futsal as we try to approach and basically specify youth futsal in particular. There's a lot of channels on YouTube that basically have great content about futsal in general, professional futsal, futsal across the countries, but not a lot that address youth futsal. And from the ones that are covering youth futsal, there is a lot, or most of them actually, that cover training, different activities, maybe games, but not a lot of channels that address and speak directly to the parents, to the kids, to the players, maybe to the coaches, and discussing the different concerns, the different challenges, the different accomplishments, what's going on in the youth futsal world in the US as well as globally. So I want to try to fill that void with our channel with that content specifically to youth futsal and addressing, again, the challenges, the successes, everything. But before we do so, today, again, the first or the second, should I say, live, and we're going to try to make a conscious effort of start doing lives on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, if you want to mark it down. You're going to get notifications, but before we get going with this video today, which is going to be from soccer to futsal, the growing trend of dual sport young athletes. That's the title of the video. But before we do that, please smash the like button, subscribe, share, help us navigate through the algorithms and grow this YouTube futsal channel as it's growing tremendously in the last months as we've taken more of a hands-on approach into this particular subject matter, which again, it's addressing youth futsal. It's addressing everything from, as I said before, challenges, concerns, what's going on in the world of youth futsal. So today's video, let's just dive right in. From soccer to futsal, growing trend of dual sports young athletes. Look, as you guys know, and if you're a parent, there is a lot of youth players that play multiple sports. That can be futsal, it could be soccer, it could be basketball, it could be softball, baseball, an array of different sports. Telspina, how are you? Glad to have you on here. So anyway, like I said, there's a lot of athletes that do dual sports, but now in particular, there's more and more athletes that basically are combining soccer and futsal as a dual sport. To some, it may seem that, you know what, soccer, futsal, it's the same thing, isn't it? No, actually it isn't. There are different activities for soccer, different activities for futsal. Vicky, welcome, and you know, all you guys that are coming to the channel and to the chat, hey everybody. So, what's different between soccer and futsal? Well, in soccer, the way a youth soccer player moves is different. They use different parts of the body. They're using different parts of their physique as opposed to futsal. Number one, in soccer, you have a different surface. You have grass or turf, which is a lot softer, a lot more forgiving. You're also wearing soccer shoes with cleats. Maybe if you're playing on turf, you're wearing turf shoes. But when it comes to futsal, now the surface is much harder. The surface is either hardwood, synthetic. So the shoes are different. So you're wearing either indoor shoes, sneakers, or futsal specific shoes. So automatically the movements of the players are different. Anyone that you speak to that are in youth sports will tell you, hey, look, it's great for young kids to play multiple sports because it gives you access to different movements. It builds different parts of their bodies, their muscles, everything. Not to mention the psychological part, the mental part, different thinking, all that good stuff. So again, for the ones that are thinking that futsal and soccer is the same thing, well, I beg to differ. It's not. It's two different sports using two different sets of muscles. Actually, not just two different sets of muscles, but multiple sets of muscles also. Okay? So as of late, you notice more and more. I mean, futsal is just basically taking off. Futsal is basically kicking, what, and growing by leaps and bounds. Why? Because futsal has gained a popularity not just on the development portion of it. I mean, more and more people are realizing that futsal is a great development tool to soccer, but also futsal is becoming very popular because it's a great sport in itself. It's a great individual sport. And in America, youth sports culture loves action-based sports. And that's exactly futsal, what it is. Fast, fun, furious. A lot more engaging. The kids have a lot more touches on the ball, a lot more opportunities to be around the ball. The parents of the futsal players get an opportunity to see their kids constantly touching the ball. There are players that may be playing soccer that are midfielders or even defenders that hardly ever get to touch the ball and score goals. Well, guess what? In futsal, a defender has just the same opportunity to score a goal as an attacker. How about this? In futsal, it's very common for goalkeepers to score goals. So guess what? Parents love that. Players love that. So I'm hoping that I'm building, and you know what? If you follow the channel from our content and I pop out here and there, you guys know that we talk about how great futsal is. So I'm going to be more specific in this video, okay? I'm going to be more specific because the growing trend where soccer players are beginning to play more and more futsal on a regular basis, not just winter months. I live in New Jersey, Northeast. Futsal is, big during the winter months. But in other parts of the country, futsal is big everywhere, year round. Some states, there's more futsal being played than soccer. Okay? So why and how can we combine these two sports? Well, it happens holistically. It happens organically. More and more people realize that their kids love futsal. They want more futsal, and they enroll them in more futsal programs. So now, what used to be, well, my son plays, basketball during the winter and indoor soccer, all of a sudden you have more families doing futsal and indoor soccer. Okay? So the question becomes, why should we combine soccer and futsal? Couple answers, and I want to give you the biggest ones. To some of you guys that follow the channel, it's pretty obvious. When you combine soccer and futsal, there is more enhanced ball control and technical skills being developed. Simply, futsal is played on a smaller indoor court with a heavier ball that does not bounce as much as soccer. This encourages players to keep the ball close to them. It increases the ball handling skills under pressure. Soccer players who add futsal to their training, they quickly improve their first touch and their all-around touch. They improve their body balance. Again, remember we talked about in the beginning of this video, different dynamics for futsal and soccer. Body movement, body shape, balance, the way you cut and move, all different between the two sports. The technical skills that one has to possess in futsal quickly transfer back to the outdoor field. So if you play on a long-term range, I guess, it gives soccer players an edge when they consistently play their outdoor game. So the enhanced ball control, the technical skills, not to mention the different body movements using different muscles of your body, different joints, it all contribute to being a fantastic combination between combining soccer with futsal. Secondly, the second biggest obvious one for me improve decision making and speed of play. In futsal, players have limited time and space. And if you look at some of the other videos we highlight, space and time is very important. These two elements are crucial because the decision making changes from outdoor soccer. Because you have less space and less time, well, guess what? That changes the dynamic of having to make a decision on a futsal court as opposed to a soccer court. When you become better at the environment of making quick decisions, okay, it helps young athletes develop quicker reaction and strategic thinking skills, which they're critical to play soccer. So if you can become consistently a faster thinker, okay, you can become a better soccer player, because when you go to a bigger space, obviously you have more time to think, you have more time to adapt, you have more time to make your next move, right? Lastly, and again, I don't want, I'm going to give you guys a couple more, okay? So the focus on individual skill development. Wow. Futsal games are typically fewer players, right? There are 5v5 on each team, and each player gets more touches on the ball. It is more, he or she is more actively involved in the game. The setup of a futsal gives players more opportunities to develop confidence and refine their individual skills like dribbling and passing, obviously shooting, finishing, which can sometimes be overlooked in a larger soccer setting, right? So younger athletes especially, futsal serves as a great complement to soccer because it ensures that each child gets time on the ball and can grow technically. So now you have more engagement, more enjoyment out of the youth soccer players because they get to touch the ball a lot more times, but subconsciously, without them realizing it, they're developing their individual skills, which will have an effect in their outdoor soccer game. Let's touch the physical conditioning and coordination. Okay, so I said before, when you combine futsal and soccer, you have different movements in the game. Different surface, one is softer, the other one is harder. Soccer is softer, soccer turf, soccer field. Futsal, hardwood floor, synthetic surface. So the surfaces are different. So guess what? Automatically, your body has to adjust to that. Automatically, without even realizing, your body uses different muscles, different joints, okay? So the physical and condition part, as well as the coordination, is automatic. The intensity of a futsal game promotes endurance and agility. Look, you play, and most futsal players in America, for the most part, play on basketball courts. Now, there are those higher level competitions that you have actual regulation futsal courts, which are bigger than one futsal basketball court, right? If you have played at a higher environment, USYF, USFF, United Futsal, those regionals or national tournaments use regulation futsal courts. So they're about 2 basketball courts, actually a little bit more, in a regulation futsal court. But for the most part, everybody plays across the country on basketball courts, which is a lot smaller. Well, guess what? The game is a lot faster by itself. You, without even doing anything, because of the smaller space, the game is just that much faster than soccer. If you have a 5v5 outdoor soccer on grass or turf, and U.S. Soccer has created an initiative where across the country, young players begin to play 5v5 in a smaller soccer field. Well, even that soccer field, as small as it is, it's not as small as soccer. I'm sorry, it's not as small as futsal, and it's not as fast as futsal because it's turf or grass as opposed to futsal, basketball court, or synthetic surface. Okay? So automatically, the game elevates. It promotes quick thinking. It promotes endurance and agility. In a basketball court, a basketball player has to use a lot more movements and a lot of different movements than a football player outdoors or a soccer player outdoors. In futsal, which I think and I believe it's even faster than basketball, that elevates itself. The constant transition between offense and defense means that players are always moving, helping them build stamina and coordination. In futsal, the smaller space also encourages players to develop agility and quick footwork. It's just a given. Those are crucial skills for soccer. Agility, footwork. When athletes switch to soccer, they bring improved coordination and endurance, which makes them more resilient in their soccer games. So again, as I'm going through this video and through this live, I just want to project and make sure that everybody understands subconsciously, without doing anything other than just showing up on a futsal court, showing up to play a futsal game or a futsal training, automatically without doing anything, it changes the dynamic of that youth futsal player becoming a better soccer player without doing anything else, without doing any coaching, any trainer assistance, nothing. The dynamics from going from a smaller court, a smaller hard surface futsal court, to a larger, softer surface soccer environment, it automatically changes the dynamics. Look, see something else that some people may have thought or may not. It reduces the burnout and the injury risk. When you're constantly playing the same sport year-round, it can lead to burnout and increased risk of overdue or overuse injuries. Why? When you're playing one sport consistently year-round, you tend to use the same muscle group over and over and over and over again. Why? Because the tendencies of that particular sport are the same. It doesn't matter if it's soccer, football, baseball, hockey. Doesn't matter. When you're constantly playing the same sport, it's only natural to use the same muscle groups, the same movements. And I apologize. I know there's a lot of people that have been coming in. And I know that you guys have been leaving some messages. I apologize because I'm doing this on my cell phone, so it's actually not easy for me to do. I will address your comments and follow up with replies. Again, this is the second live we're doing on the channel. We're planning on doing more. We're actually going to build an actual live, board where we can do all these things. But I do apologize for not immediately addressing your questions right away. I just want to get this live out, get more comfortable with putting the content out there. So getting back to the video, okay? So once again, as I was talking, it's only natural that when you use and you play the same sport year-round, you're going to use the same muscles. In fact, coaches, trainers, athletic people, anybody who's involved in sports will tell you, when you play multiple sports, especially at the younger ages, it helps your growth physically, because you are using different muscle groups. You're using different muscle groups for soccer as you will use for hockey, for basketball, for football, what have you. Same thing with your muscles. So as you're a young youth futsal athlete, it helps your growth as you're getting older. Okay, if you're changing between soccer and futsal, all right, you're engaging in different movements. As I said, on the basketball court, when you plant your foot to make a cut and change direction, it's a lot different than when you plant your foot to make a cut and change direction on the soccer field. Think about it. Softer surface, turf, grass, you're wearing cleats, as opposed to harder surface, futsal surface, wearing indoor shoes, sneakers, or futsal specific shoes. The cut, the feel, the body movement, the muscle that you use is completely different. And if you don't believe in this, hey, look, I'll give you a challenge. Next time you're out with your kid in a soccer field, okay? Put your shoes on and make a run, cut, and change direction. And then do the same thing in a futsal court. And you'll notice what I'm telling you is 100% true. Okay. It also, it also reduces the repetitive strain on certain muscles and joints. So when you're constantly playing soccer and making those cuts, making those runs, okay, you're using the same muscles. How many people as youth parents, especially with the younger athletes, especially with girls, they have the certain same injuries. It's like almost an X-ray. It's almost like a copy. Girls have consistently the same injuries when they're playing the same sport. Okay, boys and girls have different strengths and weaknesses. So some of the injuries that happen to girls are different than the boys. Some injuries are more frequent in the girls than in the boys. Okay, now you take this into consideration that you're playing the same sport year round using the same muscles. That means certain muscles and joints are becoming stronger than others. It's only natural, right? And those weaker joints or muscles may cause an injury. So the strain is what causes the injury. The strain of the muscle, which gets weaker, causes injuries. So switching sports, it keeps their, first of all, it keeps their muscles growing, on an even pace, should I say. But it also keeps the training fresh, exciting. It allows them to enjoy the game more and avoid burnouts. Okay? In other words, think about this. And look, if you play competitive sports, if you play sports in general, there's days where you just don't feel like going training. Why? Because you know the training session. You're going to get there, you're going to warm up, maybe do some laps, then you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Sometimes coaches forget that the training session has to be fun, and it becomes repetitive, it becomes boring. You know what I mean? They're not going to do the warm up. They're going to do this. They're going to do, small side activities. They're going to do a little bit of ball touching, whatever it is, and it becomes boring. And a lot of athletes, especially younger athletes, they try to cut corners. They show up a little late, maybe. When they're doing their warm up, they're not really doing it 100%. And it all affects their performance and development. But again, as coaches and as trainers, part of the job is to keep the players engaged, to keep the players interested, to keep the players fresh. Okay, and that's a challenge. That's a challenge. When you're coaching year-round, multiple teams, it's a challenge because you need to do the certain things over and over again to develop, right? But you also got to come up with different activities every training session, especially if you're coaching multiple teams. Well, guess what? Now, if you're playing a different sport, automatically a player will go from one environment to another. You're going to go from a soccer environment where in a team training session, you do this, and this. Then you're going to go to a futsal environment, and all of a sudden, the activities are different. The training is different. Well, that going back and forth, it could be the same thing said when you play basketball and soccer, because you're switching from a soccer environment to a basketball environment, maybe from a baseball environment to a soccer, from a soccer to, you get my understanding, right? You where I'm going with this. Naturally, it changes and keeps your interest. You don't get bored. You don't get staled. So these are the things that I wanted to cover as far as what's and why futsal and soccer could be incorporated. What's the difference? Now, let me give you guys, some of my tips, some of the tips that I think about where, to balance the two, how you balance soccer and futsal. And if you guys can relate to this, right? Being a soccer coach for a lot of years, being a futsal coach, being a director of an academy and all league, and now this channel that I'm trying to grow with bring more awareness. I'm sure you guys can relate. Boy, I see parents just drained, especially when you have multiple kids going from soccer to futsal to soccer to futsal to futsal to soccer, like back and forth, and they show up like just drained, trying to manage everything, trying to manage the schedule. I see a lot of families that go from the soccer field, from the soccer training to the futsal training afterwards. Well, that's just like draining for the kids. Forget about the parents. What about the kids? Oh my God. Think about it. I have kids showing up and they're already checked out at training before the first touch on the ball. Why? Because they just spent an hour and a half on the soccer field. They're drained. They went, how about this schedule, guys? Okay. So you have your son or your daughter, and They got up in the morning, 7, 8, whatever your schedule is, and got to school. Elementary, high school, what have you. They spend a full day in academics, full day of school. That takes a lot for most. As soon as they get done, they have to go home, get picked up by mom and dad, school bus, what have you, maybe get a quick bite to eat. Some of it maybe don't even have that luxury, and go train on a soccer field for an hour and a half mostly, right? An hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the team, depending on the level. And then after that hour and a half, 2 hours, you get in the car, and now you got futsal practice. Or you might have dance practice, hip-hop practice, gymnastics, what have you. And then after you're done for another hour and a half of training, now, you're at 7, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, I don't know, at night. Now you got to go home and try to do some homework. Eat a little bit, try to do some homework. And then try to get some sleep and do it all over again the next day. That's a lot to ask of anybody. Forget about our kids. That's just a lot to ask from anybody, okay? So here are some of the tips. You guys got to set up, as parents and as coaches, we got to guide families to set clear goals for each sport, okay? For younger athletes, the goals might be focused on skill development, on fun, while for older players, the focus might be more on competitive growth. But it's got to be done in a balanced way. We got to understand that the child or the athlete wants to achieve both. They want to play. Now, look, when my daughter was younger, she wanted to do everything. She wanted to do soccer. She wanted to do piano. She wanted to do hip hop. She wanted to do everything in the same time frame. It's impossible. It's just not enough time of the day, and those kids will get burned out. How many kids quit? By the time they're 14 years old, they're done with academics. I'm sorry, with sports. Because they got their school, because they got this, because they got that, and they're done. So this brings me to the next point. You got to create a balanced training schedule. Again, if you want to avoid the overuse of injuries that we just talked about before, if you want to ensure an adequate recovery time. Okay, for example, your child has an intensive week of soccer practice 3 times a week, maybe because they're playing at an academy level. Well, maybe that week they should only do a lighter schedule of futsal, maybe 1 or 2 days. Or if they're playing basketball, maybe they should do that. So you got to first of all determine your goal. Like, what's your primary sport? Well, my primary sport is soccer. Okay, great. So that's going to be your focus, your primary focus. Or maybe primary goal is basketball. Well, that's your primary, goal. And your primary goal goes hand in hand with a schedule that you set in. So if you got 3 times training on the soccer field or the basketball court, well, that only gives you 2 other days to maybe do futsal, hockey, roller skating, dance, hip hop, whatever. You got to balance it. Creating the balanced schedule not only helps the young athletes physically, it also helps them prevent injuries. When you're always on the go, yes, they're younger. They're younger, they have more energy, their muscles, their bone structure, everything is softer. They can withstand a lot more than the older people. They don't get tired as easy. But even those young kids need a breakdown, need a recovery time, just like they need nutrition, okay? So manage the schedule. Be honest. Just because your son or your daughter tells you they want to do everything, it doesn't mean that they should, right? Think about it. It doesn't mean that they should. How about listening to your son's or your daughter's needs? Our kids grow, they develop their own pace, but it's important to check on them. Just like I said, how they feel physically, how they feel mentally. If they seem to be tired or uninterested, or anything else that you might see in their behavior changing, maybe it's time to adjust the schedule. Allowing our kids to rest and recover is essential if you want to have long-term enjoyment, number one, success, injury-free in any sport. In any sport. Okay? Just because they want you to do, they want themselves to do everything, it doesn't mean that they should. How about this one? How about emphasizing skill level transfer? I'll tell you what this means. Emphasize skill transfer, not competition. So if you focus on the skill development part of futsal, okay, it can increase their soccer performance and vice versa. If you keep the emphasis on development, especially the younger players, so you build a strong technical foundation slowly by seeing futsal as a tool to complement their soccer skills, kids will stay motivated. In other words, they will not see that as a competition. Because unfortunately in soccer, from the very young years, they are introduced to competition right off the bat. I mean, we're all guilty of this, right? You got 7 years old, you got 6, 7-year-olds going to training. They can't even kick the ball yet. They can't kick the ball. They can't track the ball. They can't control the ball. They can't dribble without having their heads down. Forget about reading the game. And automatically, they're already competing. They're already competing in leagues at 7 years old. They haven't even learned how to control the ball, and they're competing. It's a mess. It is a mess. Okay? Without us realizing it subconsciously, even at those ages of 7-year-olds, we're putting in their minds the competition part. Everything is a competition. Everything. Oh, when you show up, you gotta beat those other 7-year-olds. Very, very few programs, very, very few families do a good job of not getting as involved into the competition aspect of sports, any sport. Very few, families and organizations do a good job of that. We all get caught into the element of competition, competing and winning. Why? Because we're adults and we see the game from a different perspective with a different set of eyes than the young kids. The young kids, all they care about is showing up on the field, meeting up with their teammates, their peers, running around, having fun. One of the favorite pictures is anywhere across the American soccer fields, you see little boys or little girls picking up daisies and throwing them up, or wandering around and looking around, the birds at the trees and this and that, while the coach or mom and dad are yelling, "Pay attention, pay attention." Why? Because it's in their nature. They're 7 years old. They're supposed to do that. Okay? They're supposed to do that. So let's take the element of competition out. When you come to futsal, it's about fun. Throw the ball in there. They run around. They learn some skills, They're always around the ball because of the confined space. It's fun. They're chasing the ball. Look, what's the object of soccer and futsal? What's the number one thing that, regardless of what position you're in, right? What's the number one thing you want? It's to be in touch with the ball. If you're a player, you want the ball at your feet as much as possible because that's fun. That's the fun part of the game. Chasing somebody, defending somebody, marking somebody, making runs without receiving the ball. Okay, that's not fun. Transitioning into offense, running up and down the field without receiving the ball, and then you got to jog all the way back and redo it again, over and over and over again throughout the game. That's not fun. You know what's fun? Ask anybody. It's having the ball at your feet, dribbling and beating your opponents. That's the fun part of the game. Futsal or soccer. If you're a basketball player, what's the most fun you can have? Dribbling the ball and doing all kinds of tricks with that ball. And of course, shooting the ball and being a great accurate shooter. Running up and down the court. Marking, defending, attacking without being in constant contact with the ball. It's not fun. It's not fun. So again, I hope I'm pounding this point. Taking the competition. I mean, you have competition in soccer, right? But taking that element out and going into a futsal environment, which is touching the ball and having fun, I think it will be a tremendous growth in their psychic. Tremendous growth. Okay? In my opinion, the future of a dual sport training in sports, what futsal and soccer provide, okay, because of their similarities, but also because of their difference, is something that I think is driving the popularity of a lot of families playing both sports at the same time. Where you see more and more soccer players, okay, engaging in futsal training, in futsal pickup games, in futsal league games, in teams, in regional competitions, in national competitions, in international competitions. I think that's a tremendous part of why you see such a big growth in the dual sport interaction and growth. I think that as more soccer programs embrace futsal as a training tool and as a fun game, I think that young athletes can look forward to, a richer and more diverse playing experience that will build their essential skills in both sports, in soccer and in futsal. It doesn't matter whether they're aiming to improve technical skills, ability, physical attributions, strategic thinking. You combine futsal and soccer and a nice, healthy training schedule with everything that we just addressed. I think it's a win-win situation. Look, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Please share, subscribe, join our group, post questions, comments on what you think about this video. As I said, we're planning on adding lives as our channel grows, and I thank you very much for all your support. Appreciate you guys as our channel is growing pretty rapidly. But sharing, subscribing, commenting, engaging with our channel promotes us on YouTube circles, of course. Plus, again, as a full-time futsal trainer, coach, administrator, my number one priority is to bring more awareness about youth futsal. There's plenty of channels that cover professional futsal, international futsal, but there's not a lot of channels that not only cover youth futsal, but engage with, the parents and the coaches and other like-minded people in the different challenges that futsal has, in the success stories that futsal has, in the promotion of futsal, but it's got to be in the youth futsal environment with youth futsal players. That's exactly the education that we're looking to build. So help us build this community. I appreciate all you guys. We appreciate as much as possible. By the way, share this with anybody that's interested in possibly having their organization promoted, bring awareness about their organization for free. Text us, post a comment, and let's talk about possibly us coming out and maybe doing some videos of your organization. Maybe if you are a youth futsal group, we can come and do some video of training of the kids, hang out with the coaches, with the parents, whatever we can do to bring awareness of your organization into this channel will be awesome. First, we're looking locally here in the New Jersey area, but maybe eventually grow it as the channel grows. And again, expose other youth futsal organizations as part of the youth futsal movement that's not only happening in the U.S., it's happening globally. Youth futsal is recognized and is going through a tremendous growth. So if you guys are interested in that, text, post a comment, let's get together. We'd love to come out and, do something and promote your organization, while at the same time we're bringing content into the channel. Lastly, if you guys are on Facebook, please join our Facebook group, Futsal Today. Facebook, Futsal Today. Over 2,000 people in the last 4 months or so that we created the group, and more coming in. Again, let's share in the content. Let's share in the wealth and development of our kids, futsal, soccer, and most importantly, the kids have a long time fun, staying engaged in both sports. To the next video. Have a great one. See you.